What's up, guys? Today on Rebels Off-Road, we're gonna be going from this to this. And we're gonna be showing you how to do that with all the welds and the bends and all that type of stuff in this video. So stay tuned, smash that like button and subscribe for more great content like this. And we're gonna get right into this video. So before I get into this project, I just wanted to have a little disclaimer here. This is my first time using the tube bender for a cage like this. I've used it on a couple of small projects, but nothing quite like this. And also I got a brand new welding machine that I'm gonna be using on this project. It is the Everlast 200 ES. And we're gonna be using some C25 welding gas on that. This is the machine we're gonna be running. I'm not too comfortable with it yet. Probably a bad thing if we're building a cage. However, we're gonna go ahead and give it a go. And worst case, we have to grind out all our welds and redo them. I also have a stick machine that I've been using for a few years now, gotten pretty good with that. This is the first time using the MIG on a big project like this. So I'm excited to see what it does and what type of welds I can make happen with it. Also, where safety is concerned, I want to say what material I'm going to be using, and I will be using mainly this 120 wall 1 3/4 inch DOM tubing. We could use hot rolled steel. However, DOM is just a little bit more safe, and so for this type of machine, we ride it hard. Sometimes get in some dangerous situations. We wanted to make sure that safety was the utmost priority in this build. We went with the 120 wall. You could also go with 095. We're probably gonna go with 095 on some of the components. I'll distinguish those during the build. 120 wall for the main stuff, and 095 maybe for like the bumpers and stuff like that. So the first step in this process is to remove the whole entire deal with the stock cage, the mirrors, lights, fire extinguisher, the speaker system. Everything up here has to be removed. We're gonna make a convertible top, and we're gonna start the compilation right now. So now it is time to take off the stock cage. Got everything loosened up. There's a bunch of 17mm bolts that I had to remove, and now it should be all freed up. Got all the wires loose. And so I'm gonna just try to lift it up, see how heavy it is. I wonder if I'll be able to do it myself. Forgot about the tailgate. Gotta take those out. Gotta take some bolts out. The tailgate, might be able to just slide it forward, but I'm gonna have to take off the tailgate anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
11 minutes later.
Got the tailgate, out of the way basically. And now we're just gonna go ahead and take this cage off. It is a little heavy, and I am by myself, so this could get interesting. Jeez. That was a lot harder than I expected. Check out my convertible top now. Step one down. Only like a million more steps to go. All right, so we got these billet steel little bungs here, and those are gonna fit down right where the stock roll cage mounts, and we're gonna go ahead and mount those up, get some measurements off of those. Just wanna show you, they have this hole through them, so you can route wires up through the roll cage. The hole comes out there, and then through there. And so, yeah, these are pretty nice. I think the stock ones are like, you know, a lot less heavy duty than these. Got them on eBay. I forget how much they were, but you know, they weren't that bad. Get the whole kit for them. You know, got all of them. They're all the same. So we're gonna start with the B pillar first. I'm gonna go ahead and get those bolted up here, and then we're gonna take a measurement across here so we know what the overall width of our hoop should be. And that's the one we're gonna start with, is our B pillar hoop. All right, stay tuned. I put my little cheater bar up here, and if you know anything about tube bending, you know one of these is basically super necessary to make. You have your angles out here, and then your inch measurements right there, and then you have your reference point for all your bends. So I made this one up, and this is the 1/4 1 3/4 inch tube. I'm gonna go ahead and see how high up I need to add to this for my mock-up. You know, I'm thinking somewhere right about in here. I'm kind of tall, 6'1". I need to have room between the bar and where I'm gonna wear my helmet. You know, some parks require helmets, and I wanna be able to be comfortable with that helmet on. I'm probably gonna end up dropping the cage from the stock position a good little bit, you know, somewhere in there, just to give myself some room. I've got my seat reclined back pretty good, so, you know, I'm sitting in it pretty good, but I need to have that extra space. So I'm thinking right about here would be ideal for me, and that's, we'll say, you know, maybe 15 inches off of this bung here. So I'm taking a measurement from that bung all the way over to this bung affixed there, and it is about 51 5/8 between those two. That's not counting the material thickness. So we're gonna add 2/8 to that. So basically 1/4 inch. So we're gonna go ahead and add a 1/4 inch to that for the material thickness. It's 120 wall, which is close enough to an 8. And so we will be just under 51 7/8 for the total width of our hoop. I would rather, you know, bend it a little bit wide and then bring it in anyways. So that's why we're gonna go with the 51 7/8 for our measurement of our tube. So I'm gonna go get some paper, and we're gonna write down some measurements so that we know exactly where we need to bend our tube out. All right, so I'm gonna show you how I got the overall length of tube that we're gonna need to cut out for this B pillar. Basically, I took our cheater and I marked out from the reference point down to the last mark on this cheater tube. That, as we marked out, is 13 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we marked out there, and then we marked out how long we wanted extra for it, and we went ahead and added 7 inches to that, which gives the grand total of 20 inches for our bend to reference point. We add that for the other side, so 20 plus 20 plus our 37 3/8, which is from our reference point to our reference point, which gives us the grand total of 77 3/8 of an inch for our overall tube length that we need for our B pillar. So I started at one side and I measured out 21 inches and marked that for our first reference for our bend. I measured out the center also from that same point, and that one should have measured out to be about 39 11/16 to the center. And then I also measured out 21 inches plus the 37 3/8 to our second reference line and marked that out for our second bend. I triple checked all of these measurements. Now it is time to chuck this up in the bender and get to bending. So super excited about this, a little nervous since this is our first big bending project. We're gonna see how it turns out. So let's go get this tube into the bender. So the other thing you gotta be really careful about with bending is making sure that the bend is on the right side of your cut marks. You know, I was just about to chuck it in like this, but that would end up having the bend on this side of the reference point, which is wrong. It's incorrect. So we're actually gonna have to flip this around and line up our reference mark the other way. So the long side of the tube will actually be out there. And it will be the same thing on this one where the long side of the tube will be out there. So that's just a little thing, because if you mess that up, you messed up that whole tube and you'll have to cut out a new tube and it can get expensive real fast. All right, so we got checked up in the tube bender and it's going the right way. As you can see, it will clamp right here and it will drag this around. So our reference point will stay on the top of the tube, and that's the way it needs to go. Otherwise, you done messed up, Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron!
It's sitting here. I got this little wire piece on 0 with the, you know, the slack taken out of it. Ran this guy down to clamp it. Also, I don't know if you can see it, but in here is where my reference point goes against that block. And we have our mark right up against that. Now we are ready to start bending. We bend it past 90, almost to 95, and then release the pressure on the hydraulics. And it came back and it's just a smidge less than 90 degrees. We're gonna go ahead and run with that. If we need to, we can always bend it a little bit more later on if we need to bring it in more. However, once you've bent it all the way, it's harder to actually spread it out. We're gonna run with that. Gonna go ahead and start on the next bend, which is over there. And yeah, we're gonna get this thing fit up. One more thing we gotta make sure that we get is make sure that the bend is on plane. So I got this little angle finder here. I zeroed it out on the bender here. This is where it's going to you know, come in. That is you know, a little bit off there, 0.3 inches tilt down this way. But what we really care about is in this axis here. Went ahead and got it zeroed out here, and then we are going to take this and move it over to here on this bend over here and see. All right, so we got 0.1 degree, which is pretty darn close there. Gonna go verify again here. We have 0.1 down. Anything within a half a degree is going to be close enough, I think. I'm going to go ahead and crank on this to get this locked into place for the bend. So that's the bend, and we can see if it's on plane or not. Slightly, ever so slightly off plane. That's probably that half a degree, which I am perfectly okay with. That is just fine. So I'm happy with it, and we're gonna go ahead and chuck it up on the machine and see what it looks like. Gonna have to trim it down probably, but I can't wait to see it. So I got my tube all fit up here, and I'm about to tack it into place. Put 2 little tacks on it. because the tube was out a little bit, we're actually going to weld a bead on it before tacking up the rest of the tubes and see if it'll draw in just a little bit. Doesn't need a whole lot, but you know, I figured it doesn't hurt to go ahead and make it fit perfect. Because these bungs are solid steel, we're gonna go ahead and preheat them before we weld. It's because this is super thick and it's gonna absorb a lot of the heat and we want a good fusion. Preheating these guys up will allow the welds to penetrate a little bit better. Gonna do that right now, and yeah, we're gonna get this welded up. First bar kind of mocked up here. This bend is a 40-degree bend. I put it at, I believe, 22 inches to the reference point. I just kind of eyeballed this over here, and this is a 15-degree bend. I'm gonna go ahead and cut and notch this and drop it down. But what do y'all think? I think it's gonna look really, really nice. After I make up the mirror of this bar, we're gonna start on the rear there and start that up. But wanted it to go in a little bit like the stock one does, but not a ton, because this bar kind of kicks out farther than the stock, which is what I wanted to protect, you know, your head and stuff. And this bar I want to mate up at the top right there. So I wanted to get it right where the curve starts, but not any farther inward, because I want to have full protection. Also, the roof, I want to make sure that it covers my head and don't want rain coming down on my head there. All right, so it's the next morning. Got a lot done last night. Finished up those two front A-pillar bars. Got them coked and tacked up. Got 3 tacks on it on the bottom side and a couple of tacks and one good little weld bead up there on that side and that side. Now I'm gonna test it out to make sure I made it the right height. I ended up adding a ½ an inch, so it's 17 inches from the bung to the top. And I think that's perfect. Gonna throw on the old helmet and see how much room is between the cage, or where the roof is gonna be, and my head. All right, got the helmet on, and look at that. About a fist. A little less than a fist in some spots. So I'm glad I didn't go any shorter. I'm a tall guy, about 6'1", 6'1.5" on a good day. Wanted to have enough room, but still have that low profile look. This is about as low as I could get away with, I think. 17 inches from the top to that bung, or 17.5 inches from the top to the bung, and that's just about perfect for me. So I know people are gonna wanna know how much lower that is than the stock cage. So we're gonna go ahead and measure out the stock cage and see. So as you can see, the stock cage is about 23 inches from that bung. So 17.5 inches, that is 18 inches. So 18 minus, what did I say, 20, 22? 23, 18 minus 23. That's a good 5-inch drop on the stock cage, give or take. I mean, that's not an exact measurement, but it's about 5 inches lower than the stock cage. And that's really good since we're adding some weight up here. It lowers the center of gravity. Even with this weight, it won't be much to more top heavy than the stock cage. So next up, I'm probably gonna go ahead and put the crossbar in right here. Then I'm gonna have to figure out this rear one. And so what I'm thinking on this one is I wanna keep it nice and low and conformal. So I'll probably come up here like this and then bend and go up there and try to match this angle right here coming off. That's the plan anyways. And then once I got those pieces in, the cage is already stronger than stock. I am gonna go ahead and add some more pieces. Gonna throw one right in there. Probably gonna throw some sort of fancy intrusion bar. I'm not gonna go with the typical style intrusion bar, and then probably some fancy bins or something over here, just to, you know, just make it a little bit different. We got a ride coming up next week that I want to get this done in time for. I want it minimum safer than the stock cage before that ride next week, so we got a lot to do because I got to do those kicker bars and that crossbar at least. And yeah, time's running out. It's Saturday. I got, you know, a lot. You know, we have a lot more to go. I'm getting faster at it though, since this is my first time. I am taking my time and, you know, checking and rechecking everything. But, I mean, it's coming out great, I think. Gonna pick it up. Let's go. All right, guys. Back again on day 2. It's late, and I finally got all of the main tubes all tacked up and good to go. Check that out. I'm really happy with how this turned out. A lot better than I could have expected for my first time. Check that out. Got this nice kink right here. It follows this line up pretty nicely and then comes down here. Got the reduced height on this cage. It's a little bit shorter. Got it kicking out like that. Next thing, I think I'm going to be running a bar from there to the middle and from there to the middle. We'll probably save that for tomorrow. Along with the bar right here, they tie in all of this just for the windshield bar right there. And yeah, so still got a lot to do. I want to do a harness bar. I want to do some intrusion bars overhead, as well as some, you know, fancy stuff. You know, I want to get a little bit creative, a little bit of, you know, artistic effect going on here. This is the basic cage. Now, once I weld this up, it will be stronger than the original cage. It's essentially the same design as the original cage. Now, this is 120 wall, 1 3/4 inch DOM tubing, and that is much stronger. All right, so I got the cage off, and I'm gonna start welding up some more joints. I'm gonna get this all fully welded first off, and then I'm gonna put it back on the machine. I'm not gonna add the intrusion bars yet, or the, you know, the front, or the fancy stuff yet. I wanna get this on the machine, all welded up. It will be safer than the stock one because we have a ride coming up, and I'll mess with all the rest of the fancy stuff later, but I really wanted to get this ready in time for the ride. All right, so it's months and months later. It's actually embarrassingly long later, but we went on that ride and just got busy with life, had a baby, started a website, a bunch of stuff happened on the channel, and so we really didn't get around to finishing up the cage until just recently. We have now finally finished up the cage to the point where I'm pretty happy with it. We're gonna add bumpers and stuff later on, but we're pretty much done with the basic cage build now. We're gonna be revealing it here right now for the very first time. Gonna see how the cage turned out right now. Went with the intrusion bar down here. Little fancy, little arc right there. I didn't want to do a true intrusion bar. I just wanted to have a nice open view. Didn't want to, leave that, not have a little bit of fancy there. So got the bracket for the light bar. That is the Wizen light bar. We had a video on that one. The tube here, harness bar, cross there with the Click 6 harness. Little kink in here. Got gusseted up there with these little kicker bars coming out here. As you can see, it is a 3-piece roof right now. I might add sections in here just so the rainwater falls off of here and doesn't fall down on the back of your neck. Right now, it's a 3-piece roof. Look at those clean lines there. Of course, have a clear polycarbonate center. Had to do something different, you know? Got to be a little bit different, fancy, stuff like that for our builds here. So that's what we decided to do. We're probably going to end up tinting that rather than keeping it perfectly clear. Help with scratches and keep down the fingerprints and stuff like that. But got it gusseted in there. Have all of this triangulation goes to this one node right here, so super strong right here. Of course, the bar you saw is one continuous bar. That is where the strength comes from. It also is tied in to here with the harness bar. So yeah, super happy with how this came out. We're gonna be going to Wellsville in a couple weeks. That'll probably be the next series that you see. And so we're super excited because we wanted to have our cage done before then. This right here is boat decking. Wanted to have a little accent here. You can see it's green and that dark gray matches the rest of it. And then up here, I'm gonna put a little bead of silicone right here, but you can tell that it kind of indents right in through here. That is so it forms kind of a natural gutter to direct the rainwater off the sides instead of falling down on your shoulder. All the tabs are welded in for the roof. I have steel above our head for extra protection, and then like I mentioned, that's polycarbonate, so that's also really strong. I think that is 3/16 polycarbonate, and the steel is 18 gauge if I remember correctly. All of this is 120 wall with the exception of the intrusion bar right here. All of this is 120 wall. We wanted to have a really super solid cage for our protection. We'll probably do the bumpers and everything else in 095. This is 095. We're gonna be planning on doing some bumper modifications. We're gonna be doing a rear bumper and tying in the front bumper as well, and adding some protection in the rear. But we're gonna save that for another video. So go ahead and check out our website at rebelsoffroad.com. We have lots of merchandise dropping all the time there. Check out the t-shirts and the stickers and some of the great products we have available there. We'll post a link down in the description where you can find that. Also, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. We have a ton more videos coming up, more build videos like this, as well as some great riding coming up at Wellsville and other places that you're not gonna wanna miss. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't yet, and we'll see you next time.
For the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night. fight, I be in my feelings, I'ma be fine. Need time and I'll soon be winning.